Anthony Ferrer, also known as the Timepiece Gentleman or TPG on YouTube, has been arrested under a criminal complaint for wire fraud. Welcome to Watches with Dennis, and today I want to walk through this criminal complaint that was used to arrest Anthony Ferrer, aka the Timepiece Gentleman. Need to note up front, I am not an attorney, so nothing I say on this video is to be construed as legal advice. The sole goal is to go ahead and just walk through this complaint. Also, I want to give a full kudos out to the TP Gentleman subreddit on Reddit, because they were the source both of me being able to download this complaint, but also covering a lot about what's been going on with Ferrer over these last few years and his YouTube channel and his watch enterprise. So there's a link in the video description, and you can go, and that will take you to the post that has a direct link to this complaint if you want to read it for yourself. So what is wire fraud? The basic definition is that of financial fraud involving the use of telecommunications or information technology. So how the FBI felt all of this wire fraud was in play is covered in a 21-page complaint. The complaint was issued in early November 2023. There are a lot of elements that provide background that aren't going to be covered in this particular video. So again, go and read the complaint if you actually want to know everything that's going on. And the aforementioned subreddit is a good place to go if you want to just learn more about what is going on with TPG over the years. I think for a lot of us, Ferrer kind of hit our radar during what was known as the blackout, when he was operating in Dallas and sort of shut down his business and all social media for a week. And it was just a very strange decision, very much of its time. But this wire fraud complaint actually all takes place during his time period after that, when he relocated out in California. The complaint alleges that Ferrer operated his wire fraud scheme from November 2022 to early August 2023. The scheme itself is simple to understand. Ferrer would accept a watch on consignment to sell on behalf of the owner. But instead of sending the money to the owner, less his fee, Ferrer kept the proceeds to fund his lifestyle. Over 20 victims were identified, with total losses around $3 million. The complaint actually goes into detail about 3 specific victims, all of which who are abbreviated. So we're going to go ahead and walk through those because they're quite interesting examples of the alleged wire fraud. The first victim is known under the abbreviation BS. BS successfully purchased a $20,000 watch from Ferrer. So BS bought another watch, this time for $50,000. This also occurred without incident. As trust was increasing and BS felt he was now a friend with Ferrer, he consigned an $85,000 watch with Ferrer. This transaction was seen as successful, though BS only received $76,000 in funds back and accepted a $9,000 credit towards another watch from Ferrer. The trouble hit when BS consigned a Rolex Skydweller and a Patek Philippe to Ferrer with a value around $220,000. Ferrer indicated in mid to late July 2023 that both watches sold. However, he told BS that he'd been robbed. So, as partial payment, Ferrer sent BS a Rolex. This watch will come up a little bit later. The FBI obtained a copy of Ferrer's Excel inventory sheet. The sheet notes the watches were either sold or the transaction was complete versus being stolen. However, I want to note some confusion on my part in terms of how this complaint portion is oriented. The way the FBI seems to be explaining it is the thought that the watches were claimed to have been robbed from Ferrer. Whereas earlier in the complaint, the way it read to me was that the watches were sold, but then Ferrer was robbed, ostensibly of the cash. So I'm not really sure what the chain or sequence here of events is regarding this purported robbery, but I think we'll probably learn more if this actually advances down the legal system, such as in a trial. For the time being, let's go ahead and move on to the second victim, who is abbreviated as FL. FL consigned a Sea Dweller to Ferrer in July 2023. When FL didn't hear more back from Ferrer, he later noticed a video on social media that was posted by the first victim we discussed, BS. It turns out that the Rolex Ferrer sent to BS was also a Sea Dweller. So FL thought it might be the piece he consigned with Ferrer. FL contacted BS and provided BS with his watch's serial number. The serial number was a match to the watch BS received. This is a pretty damning element for Ferrer, because it's a clear violation of the consignment agreement with FL to actually have used the watch as a way to pay down the debt owed to BS. So I don't really know what possible defense there would be to that. But let's go ahead and quickly move to the third victim, who, in terms of the three examples, involves the highest quantity of watches. And this victim is abbreviated as WS. Much like with BS, WS had several successful transactions with Farrer early on, and that helped establish trust between WS and Farrer. In mid-July 2023, WS consigned approximately 75 watches with Farrer at a value of around $3.2 million. Farrer did wire WS almost $385,000, purportedly related to the sale of 24 of those watches. But according to WS, the value of those 24 watches was actually closer to $987,000. Later, it appears Farrer used 5 of the watches from WS's consignment to obtain a $300,000 loan by representing that Farrer actually owned those 5 watches, not WS. WS did end up getting these watches back by paying the lender himself, a total, in fact, of $314,000. Again, I want to stress that there were many victims identified in the complaint. I believe the FBI noted having interviewed 20, but these 3, BS, FL, and WS, were just examples of what was going on at the time. The complaint actually goes on to detail a lot of Farrer's travel in the wake of these sort of allegations, or the wake of the alleged fraud, I should more specifically state, and also outlines a lot of his social media activity during that time frame as well. One interesting portion of those activities, noted with a typo in the year, though I assume this is September 23rd, 2023, was Farrer going to Vegas, buying $14,000 in casino chips, cashing out $18,750, but then the next day going and buying $19,100 worth of chips and never cashing out again. The complaint describes Farrer's infamous rock bottom video from August 2nd, 2023, and at the time of this recording, still publicly available. Farrer claims a debt of approximately $5 million and that he betrayed people's trust, that he is a fraud, and he has problems with gambling and spending in addition to being a drug addict. The complaint goes on to provide other examples of Farrer admitting he owes money and trying to cover the situation up. It also talks about a storage unit, and the complaint was used in part to get a search warrant for several things, including digital devices and the storage unit. We do not know what was in the storage unit at this time, however. Anyway, the complaint does have all these other details. We're not going to actually show them on screen and go into them in depth because I'm worried this is already getting too long. So go ahead and go to the link to the subreddit and you can download the complaint and you can learn all of those details from there. We're going to undoubtedly learn more as things unfold through the legal process. And again, as a non-lawyer, I can only give you my layperson's opinion about what's going to happen. I'm sure some lawyers will probably opine when we know more throughout the process. But I do want to go ahead and conclude the video with 3 general thoughts. My first thought is about Anthony Farrer himself. And again, as a non-lawyer, I don't know how he gets out of this, so to speak. Yes, this is an alleged crime. He could plead not guilty. If I were to speculate, it's going to be that he's going to enter in a guilty plea. And the reason I think that is the video he did, that the admission of the debt and the wrongdoing, the video that is, as of this recording, still publicly available, was shockingly stupid to have done. I can only assume one of 2 things happened. My theory is he never consulted legal counsel and just decided to do this. The other theory could be he did get legal counsel. They told him not to do it, and he did it anyway. Regardless, stupid, stupid, stupid. I do not understand why he did that video, but to me, again, as a layperson, this makes it a slam dunk case. But regardless of that, the complaint outlines a whole lot of other pieces of evidence that the FBI have in their possession at this point. And so I just don't see any other way this can go for him. But, I mean, we'll see how it plays out. My second thought would be regarding the Timepiece Gentleman employees that have worked during the period in particular that this fraud was alleged to have occurred. Again, layperson guess, I don't think they face criminal charges. I'm sure they're going to be interviewed if they haven't already. It wouldn't be surprising to me if they're asked to testify if this actually moves forward to trial. But unless there's a clear-cut case where they were aware of what Anthony was doing with the funds, I'm just not sure anything's going to shake out for them. Now, again, those could be in other complaints. This was a complaint that was very specific to Anthony Farrer. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but just based off of everything that was shown here, it could be argued that he played that portion pretty close to the vest And so for the time being, my speculation will be that they won't pursue anyone other than Anthony as the owner of Timepiece Gentleman. My third and final thought I want to leave you with is the YouTubers who associated with Farrer and the watch dealers who associated with Farrer. And sometimes these two are intertwined and are one and the same. Do I think they end up facing legal action? No. Maybe a watch dealer if they were a participant in the fraud. But again, we didn't see allegations in this particular complaint that seemed to suggest that. So I don't think that's the direction the FBI is going, again, as a layperson. But would people maybe not want to buy from those dealers who were in cahoots, so to speak, in business relationships with Farrer? Possibly, but I think it's a very small fraction. And quite bluntly, the watch market, used watch market, secondhand watch market is not doing great right now. So most of them are already seeing their sales suffer significantly. If you follow a lot of the other happenings in the watch hobby, you've probably heard a number of entities from the fairly more backpack slinger style dealers all the way up to shops as big as Hodinkee are really streamlining. That's a very kind way of me to say they're firing people. And so we're already seeing a lot of repercussions. So I don't think we'll ever really be able to distill out if there was a direct impact tied to Farrer and a decline in particular purchases because it's just going down across the board. But honestly, unless you're really hardcore in this hobby as a buyer, you wouldn't even be aware of this. So I don't think that's much of an issue. Same thing really with the YouTubers who chose to associate and defend Farrer throughout his entire time operating in the YouTube space as a watch dealer and as a social media personality. Maybe a few people will be of the mindset that anyone who backed him is not going to be someone they're going to watch moving forward. But again, it's going to be a drop in the bucket. I don't think that the internet is particularly punitive when it comes to things like that. People want their entertainment, and so they're going to just keep seeking it out, rationalizing it however they want, regardless of how tight those associations may have been. But anyway, that's all I have for you today. Again, video description link, go to the subreddit, read the complaint if you want to know more. You can get a lot of background from that subreddit about the Timepiece Gentleman. That's all I'll leave you with. I hope you all have a really good day. Take care.